Hello everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and welcome to another week of what another person calls fact-free hysteria. I love that term, and it kind of is what we deal with on a daily basis. No basis in fact, lots of hysterical ranting and raving. Couple of announcements as always, and the first one I want to tell you today, some of you have been writing to me about it, is last Wednesday or Thursday, I posted a video that had results of a study that was actually posted on the CDC's website, and you couldn't find it. So what I did is I put it on our website at WellnessForumHealth.com, and if you go there and scroll down to our recent newsletters or some kind of headline like that, it's the first thing that pops up. And what I did was I also took a picture of the screenshot that showed how I got to it from the search. So you can see that I didn't like cut and paste some stuff together. It really was posted on the CDC's website. And I did that because things have a strange way of moving around on the web once things start getting a lot of attention, as we all know. So anyway, WellnessForumHealth.com. You can also take a look on the website. There's a ton of stuff that you can look at, like the things that we do and what we offer. And as I've said before, if you like the work that we're doing at MakeAmericans.freeagain.com, buy stuff from us. That's how we support all this great stuff that we're doing here. Also, speaking of MakeAmericans.freeagain.com, we get a lot of traffic to that homeschool website. I really encourage you to take advantage of the resources there. If you need personalized attention, we can give it to you, and we're doing 3 conference calls a week. So send an email to me, pampopper@msn.com. I can get emails to the various people who are working on things, and that's sometimes easier than you trying to remember a whole bunch of emails while I'm talking to you about a whole lot of different things in these video clips. Another thing I want to mention to you is that careers. Fall semester is a good time to start. We're going to do another accelerated program for people who are saying, I want out of the brand of healthcare I'm in right now. And we'll also, or people who are saying, I want to be doing what you're doing. I mean, I really see the need for informed healthcare decision making. So sign me up and get me in and out of this program so I can be in business to help people the way that you folks at Wellness Forum Health are helping people. So anyway, if you're interested in careers or fall semester or that sort of thing, pampopper@msn.com. I think that career decisions are really, really important, some of the most important that people make. So I do try to have at least one personal one-on-one phone conversation with anybody who's considering our programs. And even if you don't end up in one of our programs, I think that you spend enough money and enough time getting trained to do this that I'm happy to provide some direction if I can. We've been at it for a long time here. We know a little bit about what's going on. All right. So I want to talk about testing mania, and I have a lot of data, and it changes from time to time, but I'm going to try to make it really understandable. So, you know, where the schools are opening, the schools are closing, you have to wear masks. There are some places you're supposed to wear a mask in your house, and some places where you have to wear a mask in your car when you're picking up groceries at the curbside. It keeps getting crazier and crazier. Again, fact-free hysteria, right? Business hours are being limited, although we had a nice win in Columbus where the mayor tried to shut down bars and restaurants at 10 p.m. because apparently the virus gets really, really bad after 10. Before 10, safe to be in a restaurant. After 10, all bets are off. So anyway, a lawsuit got filed and a temporary restraining order was issued, and as of the time I'm making this video, the bars and restaurants can stay open as usual. But anyway, this is all the cases are the thing you hear about. One of the reasons is because there just aren't that many deaths at this point in time. People don't die of the flu in the middle of July or early August when it's 100 degrees in the shade. That's not generally the big flu season for deaths. So they've started to focus on this testing. And so there are a whole lot of things about this testing that you need to know, because if you understand what they're doing, you'll understand where the cases are coming from and how arbitrary this just all is. All right, so there's been all kinds of naming what to call this. I mean, the name ended up being COVID-19, but there have been a lot of SARS-type viruses before. But once a person tests positive for COVID-19, they're supposed to have symptoms as well before being considered a case. That's the way things should work, but that's obviously not happening. If you test positive and you have no symptoms, you're still considered a case. All right, so, and this is a problem because it is quite possible that a person could test positive with some of these tests that they're using long after they cleared the virus, because for most people your immune system kicks in and clears the virus. Sometimes you don't even know that you had it. Sometimes you had it and you recover. I get a lot of emails from people who say, I'm pretty sure that's what I had, but I got over it. And young, healthy people generally do, all right? But you can have harmless, like, remnant proteins in your bloodstream, and that's what the test is picking up, and now you're a case. You might be a recovered person or a person who never had symptoms, but you're a case. In order for the case to be classify, it should actually be accompanied by symptoms, but that doesn't happen because the people who are designating the cases aren't asking people about medical history or symptoms, generally speaking. It's just what comes back from the lab. And I've spoken in previous video clips about some of the problems with that. Now, another thing, I mentioned that the number of tests that are, we're testing like crazy. Number of tests keeps going up. So I want to give you an idea of what that really looks like. In April of this year, the average number of people being tested every day was like 167,000, and it was mostly people who had symptoms. By July, it was up to 696,000 people being tested every day. Now, if you're testing that many more people, you're going to end up with more positives. This is before we even get into the inaccuracy of the test at all. But so more tests equals more cases, but a case doesn't necessarily mean that something is incredibly wrong. Now, how are they getting the cases? Well, there are a couple of ways. And the first one I'll mention, I already mentioned before. This is a letter that was sent to one of our members that basically said a team will be coming to your community during the week of July 9th through 12th, 2020. And the letter is from the Ohio Department of Health and the Ohio State University. It looks really official. If you do not want to participate, please contact us and we'll remove your household from the list. So you have to call to say don't come, or else they will show up. If you want to participate, you don't need to contact us. The project will be recruiting participants 7 days a week between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Well, you put a bunch of people out knocking on doors 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to do tests, and you're going to come up with more cases. And that's what the Emperor of Ohio is doing here, and it's being done in many other states as well, all right? When the project visits a home, they pick a random adult and they ask some questions about health, and then they take a blood sample, okay? And then later on, you get the results back, and if you're positive, you're supposed to self-quarantine. All right, so essentially what's happening is that we've got a bunch of contact tracers out who are knocking on doors, drumming up cases, who aren't doing any type of professional medical evaluation, because if they did that, it would be practicing medicine without a license, because these people are recruited from just the general public. If you go online, you can see the ads for contact tracers. You don't really need any qualifications, except you're supposed to be nice and empathic and good at asking questions, and nothing about medical background. You need to be a nurse or a doctor or anything like that. So anyway, the case investigations get triggered by knocking on doors and a test, a provider report of a positive test, or identification of a contact as having COVID-19 through contact tracing. I won't review all this over again, but remember, the CDC posted on their website, and I talked to you about this a couple of weeks ago, that if I have dinner with you and you're a case, then through contact tracing, I become a case, and the person I have dinner with tomorrow night becomes a case. So we now can take one person and turn it into three. And there's a very interesting slide presentation online that you can see that came from the CDC that shows exactly how this is done. Okay, so another thing that's drumming up the cases is that all these people who went without health care for months, when everything stopped except for leaving the hospitals empty, which is what it turned out to be for the rush of COVID cases that never came in most places, certainly didn't happen here in Ohio. Now all those people are showing up to get their knee replacements and other procedures and that sort of thing. So in order to get into a doctor's office or a dentist's office or any type of healthcare that involves hospitalization, you have to be tested. And if you test positive, and I'm going to show you the incentive for it in a minute, if you test positive and then you enter the hospital to have your knee replaced, you are now a COVID patient, okay? You might be there to have your knee replaced, You may have absolutely no symptoms of COVID, but you end up being a COVID patient. And there's a big incentive for that, and which I'll talk to you about in just a second. So then, once you're hospitalized, they test you every 24 hours until you get 2 consecutive negative PCR tests. And we have a strong suspicion, although I can't prove it, that every time they test you positive, that becomes another case too. And the reason I say that is that we have had people call the hospitals here in Ohio where certain counties are red. I mean, the governor has this color coding thing that he's been doing, and he doesn't pay as much attention to it as he used to, but I can't remember which color was which, but anyway, we're always on the verge of a lockdown because of the cases, right? Fact-free hysteria reigns supreme in Ohio. But anyway, we have had people who have called the hospitals and the counties where the governor is reporting all these cases, and the hospitals are basically saying, we have 2 COVID patients here. Well, then how did 2 COVID patients become 14 cases? Interesting, right? And how the heck did 2 COVID patients in a hospital in a county end up turning the county on the verge of a lockdown? So that's what's being done with the numbers. Now, why would this be happening? Well, Kaiser Health News published a state-by-state breakdown on the amount of, and this was actually in the New York Times also, so I found it in 2 different places, on the amount of money that is given to each state per COVID patient. There's a complicated formula that figures it out. I talked about this a little bit last week, but Kentucky, every hospitalized case, the state gets $297,000. In Oregon, it's $220,000, Ohio, $180,000, Wyoming, $278,000, West Virginia, $471,000. So what I suspect is that the Emperor of Ohio has virtually bankrupted the state with all of his nitwit decisions during the last 4 months, and so what he's decided to do is use this as a way to fill the coffers back up again so that he doesn't look like he's completely decimated the economy, which is actually what he did, no matter how you spin it. So with this kind of an incentive, there's just an incentive for all kinds of misbehavior. And so this is what's being done. And I want to remind you that the number of cases every day, and take into consideration what I reported last week, the labs from Florida, all the cases from some labs were 100% positive in one day, that sort of thing. Well, there's an incentive to drum up the cases, and the case numbers keep going up and up, and then that is what determines whether or not you're going to be able to go to a movie, how many people can be in a restaurant, whether or not you're going to be open up your business for full service, whether or not you're going to have to wear a mask. Why the heck are we wearing a mask in Ohio when we have to go door to door to drum up cases? What is up with that? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right. So anyway, that's what's going on. And we have some ideas about how to stop it. And so stay tuned. Things are starting to get kind of interesting in the background there. But we'll be reporting on some new initiatives that I think that our rulers will be delighted about. It'll be kind of fun to turn the tables on them a little bit, don't you think? Okay, once again, my email address is pampopper@msn.com. If you want to get that CDC website and data, WellnessForumHealth.com, and just scroll down to the newsletter section. Interested in careers, that sort of thing, pampopper@msn.com. And don't forget to go register at MakeAmericansFreeAgain.com. And please download the flyer, pass it out, give it to other people. Really, we have a very limited period of time to get our act together and get the voting base that we need, the voter base that we need to really hold these people accountable. So help me do that, please. All right, that's all for today. Pass this on to people who you think would enjoy watching it, and I will be back to you tomorrow with more news.